Hi guys, it's Donna, and today what I'm sharing with you is a recipe for rye bread. Now the rye bread that you get in the grocery stores, I have found that when they bake it, they put it on top of cornmeal and then they sprinkle cornmeal on top of the dough. Now that's just a big no-no when you're allergic to corn. So I found a recipe which I adapted. It was kind of a partial recipe that somebody tried for a bread machine. And I thought, okay, I'm going to figure this out. And you can do this in a bread machine. And I think it would be easy, it'd be easier if you don't like kneading the dough. But here's the issue about my bread machine. I put all of the ingredients in the bread machine and started it, and I had it on the dough setting so that you can take it out and shape it and let it rise again and then put it in the oven. Well, it didn't even get through the full mixing part in the first part of the timer, and it quit. Come to find out, my bread machine, I guess, just decided it was going to die because it would not turn the bar that's in the bottom of the bread pan. So I took everything out and put it into this bowl, and I just started mixing it with my hands and some flour to keep it from sticking. And then I shaped it and let it rise, then shaped it and put it in a baking dish. And what I did, my trick for it was, instead of cornmeal, which I don't even keep it in my house because of my corn allergy, I used cream of wheat to dust the pan and to sprinkle on top of the dough so that it would not stick. So what I've got in this bowl, I had a technical difficulty when I started recording. So I've got 1 1/8 to 1 1/4 cup of water. To that, I have added 2 teaspoons of yeast. I have a real issue about mixing salt with yeast before you have any other ingredients because of the fact the salt will prevent the yeast from doing its job. So now to this, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of canola oil and get that in there. And as I said, this is a bread machine type recipe, or you can just do it from the way you want. And then to this, I am adding 2 tablespoons of pure maple syrup. And the reason for that, most rye recipes call for molasses or honey. And I found out that a lot of honeys are cut with dextrose, which is corn sugar, and molasses is generally made from corn. So now I've got that in there with my yeast, and I've kind of stirred that around. Now to that, I am going to add 3 tablespoons of packed brown sugar. Now you want to do that, it kind of adds the extra flavor you need. And you want to make sure that you're using pure cane sugar. Brown sugar, white sugar, it's got to be pure. So there's 1. And for some reason, my brown sugar has kind of hardened up here. So there's 2. And I think I'm going to get enough to get 3. And there's 3. So I've got that in there. Now what I'm going to add to that, I'm going to mix that around with my spat. And then I'm going to add 2 cups of flour. And on top of that, I'm going to add 1 1/2 cups of the regular rye flour. Now to me, Rye bread isn't rye bread unless you add a specific ingredient that just really adds to the flavor. As usual, I'm making a mess. Okay, so there's one. And I'll see if I can put my half cup down in there. And there's a half cup. Now, to this, whoops, so I'll lay it there so I can clean it. And I'll get another one. Okay, let me see if I can find it here. Well, that's a half teaspoon, that'll work. Now, I've got all the ingredients in there except the salt. So now I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt into the flour. And that's how I usually like to do it. That way the yeast and the salt do not touch each other. It's something I learned years ago when my mother was teaching me to make bread, and I've never ever forgotten it. It's just, I want my bread to rise. And if you do it the other way, like a lot of people, they'll just mix it all together and that's it. You're not going to have it rise like it does when you do it this way. So now I'm going to start mixing. And this is going to be a good, delicious, preservative-free bread that when it comes out of the oven and you slice it, put some pure butter on it, and it is just out of this world. Okay, I've got it to the point now of where it was when my bread machine quit. And as I said, this recipe is great to use in a bread machine. So what I'm going to do is start working the dough with my hand. I'm real okay. I made this the first time about a month ago, and my husband just absolutely loved it. So today what I'm doing, I'm going to rinse that off. I might need to add a touch more water. I'm going to wash my hands real quick before I do that. Okay. There's so much dough in there. Hard to get it off. I wash my hands so much, I'm amazed I have skin. Okay. Now, I'm going to add just a tiny bit of water. Not even 1/8 of a cup, but just enough so it will work a little better. Okay. I think what I'm going to do, because I don't like getting that on my hands, see how it works wearing a glove. Now let's keep extra gloves in the kitchen just for that. Sometimes I've woke up 2 or 3 days later, and even though I shower every day, I'd have dough stuck somewhere on my cuticles. Oh, this is going to work better. Yeah, this will be fine. And by adding just that little tiny touch of water, it makes it a little easier to knead. It's not quite as bad. And you need to knead it for 5 or 10 minutes until the dough becomes elastic. You want to be able to work it around so that the gluten starts working. Now it's starting to get sticky again, so just a touch of flour. And I always like to knead it in the bowl. I am not big on kneading on the counter or cutting board. I do occasionally, but for me it's easier if I have control with it right here. And rye can be very stiff when you're kneading. It'll sure work your muscles, I'll tell you that. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to finish kneading this loaf or this ball of dough. It's not a loaf yet. Then I am going to make the dark rye and get them both into proof. And once that's done, I'll come back and you will get to see how I am going to roll them both out, put them together, roll them up, and make 2 loaves of rye bread. So I'll see you after a bit. Hey guys, I'm back, and as you can see, here is my regular rye, and this is the dark rye. And I've got my board laid out here and got it sprinkled with some flour so that I can roll each one of these out. And I'm going to start with this one. And it rose up beautifully. So what I'm going to do is lay that there, and I'm going to sprinkle just a tiny bit of flour on top so that my rolling pin does not stick to it. Put that down there. And what I'm doing, I want to roll it as far as I can in a rectangle so that I can put the dough on top of each other and roll it up. Now, what I forgot to do in the first part of the video, which you will see where I corrected it a little bit, I put on there what it was, but I was talking about what makes rye bread. And for me, it's the caraway seed. Now for the regular dough that I'm doing right here, I forgot to put it in. But because I'm doing a marbled rye and had to make another batch of dough, it's perfectly fine because I put the caraway seed in it, in the dark rye. So what I'm going to do, got this almost out where I want it. Whoops. Tearing it is not an option. So I will fix that. And I can't wait to see what it looks like when it's done. So it's the first time that I've done marbled. So it's going to be totally different. Now, what I'm going to do is roll this up like this, and I'm going to set it on another cutting board until I get the other one rolled out. And I'm going to lay that one there. And I know it's a little noisy in here because I've got those loaf pans. Put them out of the way till I need them again. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more flour and rub some more on this. That helps to keep it from sticking to the dough. Ooh. Okay, I'm going to lay it that way. And this is my dark rye. And oh, that smell of the caraway seed is just almost too much. I'm going to set you over here. I think if I'd put the caraway in both of them, it would really have overpowered it. So I'm glad that I kind of forgot it on the first one. And of course my board here keeps wanting to move everywhere. So hopefully I can get this all rolled out the way I want it. And it will just look gorgeous when it's done. Now I'm assuming because this is dark rye, it doesn't look much darker than the regular rye dough that I've got there. But I'm assuming that as it bakes, it gets darker. Because when you buy it in the store, it's almost black. It's almost like a black bread. So I'm assuming it's what we'll get with this. Okay. And you know, I don't think it's going to matter which one is first as far as being on the outside. I'll get up there. Okay. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to start right there. And I'm going to pull it out. Kind of shrunk back some, which that's okay. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is just roll them together. Okay, now what I'm going to do is start at this edge, and I'm just going to roll it like you would cinnamon rolls, and just keep rolling and rolling. And that will be on the bottom, and I'm going to tuck that in there. And what I want to do is cut it directly in half. Oh yes. So let me get a knife here. That one looks like it's going to be just a little bit over from this one, but that's okay. And I'm going to shape it so that they're pretty much even. This one I may have to take some off and make a mini one, which that's fine. I've got some mini pans. Let's see what I get here. Okay. Now, here's the main thing I am doing. Got to make sure this scoots down so that it's not fatter on one side. Now, here's the trick. In order to keep it from sticking in the pan, you just throw in some of this. And I just kind of roll it around like that. And what I'm going to do is stick this one in and sprinkle some of it on top. And put this one in here. It's going to be a little bit longer. I think I'm going to have to cut part of it. as well. So I'll just merge this into this one. If you can see there. I'll just have a little mini loaf. Okay. Now, as you can see, I've got 2 beautiful loaves. And what I'm going to do next is put them in the oven and proof them for another 45 minutes. And then I will bake them at 420 degrees until they're fully baked for about 20-25 minutes. So when I come back, we'll have 2 beautiful loaves, and I'll be able to slice them and let you see how they came out, which will be a surprise for me as well. So I'll see you when it's done. Hey guys, it's Donna and I'm back again. As you can see, I have got 2 beautiful large loaves of rye bread, and they just baked up gorgeous. Now I baked them at 425 degrees for 25 minutes. My mini one came out just as beautiful. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to cut a slice and let you guys see the finished product. They're still pretty hot because I just took them out of the oven, but we'll see how it comes out. Well, they didn't get real dark, as you can see, even though I put them together. That dark rye obviously doesn't get as dark as I would hope it would. So I'm going to cut another slice here. Woo, that is warm. Let me grab a paper towel. That'll help a little bit. And I always generally cut it from the side. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Now I'm going to put some butter on these. We're going to try this and see how it came out. And I know a husband over there who is dying to taste it. Okay. Butter just melts right away. It's absolutely delicious. So guys, it didn't come out the way I was hoping. I probably have to find some kind of black rye, not just dark, in order to get that marbling that I like so well. But the rye itself is delicious. And what I will do is I will leave the recipe down in the description. And you guys can try this and then leave me a comment to let me know what you think. And I hope you'll like and subscribe to my channel and hit the bell for notifications of new videos, because I would love to see you again soon. And until next time, you guys take care, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.